everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not evolution is ubiquitous, and we're starting right now.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate. If this is your first time here at Modern Day Debate, want to let you know I'm your host, James Coons, and we are a neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. Providing a platform, our vision, our goal is to provide an equal playing field for everybody to make their case on. And so, want to let you know as well, no matter what walk of life you are from, Christian, atheist, agnostic, Jedi, and even Sith, we hope you feel welcome. We're glad you're here. And with that, we're going to get into a couple of quick channel housekeeping things. First, if this is your first time here, or maybe your 50th time here, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have many epic debates coming up. So, for example, Pastor Doug Wilson from the famous documentary with Christopher Hitchens, Collision, will be on debating Dr. Ben Burgess. That is on whether or not atheism is immoral, and that's coming up later this month. And so, click that subscribe button and that little bell for reminders of debates like that. Also, want to let you know, if you haven't heard, we are on podcast, folks, and so want to encourage you, pull out your phone right now, check and see if we are on your favorite podcast app, as we're working to get on every single podcast app so it's convenient for you to listen to Modern Day Debate on the go. And want to let you know, our guests, we are thrilled for this debate. It's going to be a great one. Want to remind you of a couple things. One, we have limited time, so we're probably only going to get to about 7 questions. We want serious questions only, please, as that really does add value in terms of substantive questions. That adds value to the show itself. And then also want to let you know, always, folks, want to encourage you, attack the arguments, not the people. And also, want to let you know both of our guests are linked in the description. So I'm going to give them a chance as I introduce them. We're thrilled to have you back, Kent Hovind. It's been quite a while, and so we're excited to have you. And if you'd be willing to share what people can expect to find at your link in the description, thanks again for being here, Kent.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm sorry for the confusion in the schedule last time. I didn't. It wasn't on my calendar. It's my fault. I didn't tell the secretary. But glad to be here. I'm Kent Hovind. I've been a Baptist preacher 46 years. I taught high school science and math 15 years. I believe the Bible is true, and the evolution theory is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of the world. Never been a dumber idea than teach everybody we all came from a rock and you're related to a mosquito. Anyway, so our website, drdino.com, has all kinds of stuff to document that the Bible is true. Evolution is crazy. We talk about the original creation. What was it like? Why did they live so long? Where dinosaurs fit in? You can come visit our dinosaur adventure land in Lenox, Alabama, if you can find it, straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. And we'd love to have you come down and visit. It's all free. All kinds of cool science lessons. We got a science center, a museum that'll blow your mind, and activities that are just incredible, teaching, giving God the glory for his creation.
You got it. Thanks for being with us again, Kent. And we'll kick it over to Donald. Thanks again, Donald, for being with us. Thrilled to have you. If you can let people know what people can expect to find at your link in the description.
Me.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Donald. Both of our guests are linked in the description, and we do appreciate them. And so with that, Kent is going first. Our format is fairly flexible, so we have an 8-minute opening from each side, followed by about 45 minutes of open conversation, and then 20 minutes of Q&A. So I have got the timer set for you, Kent, and the floor is all yours for your opening statement.
Well, thank you for having me, James. And thank you, Donald, for doing this. I'm curious. You said your name is Donald Arthur Kronos, but it says you're born Donald Arthur Newman. I don't know if that means you got married and changed it or what happened there. But anyway, your website, you voted for Bernie Sanders. That tells me a lot right there. So you said you're saying Charles Darwin was wrong, even though you have no idea what he said, and therefore God created this universe. And Donald Kronos, there's his website if you want to go, or a YouTube channel, I guess. So you got different pictures of him with a beard. I couldn't figure out which one I'm debating here. Anyway, thank you for coming. Ubiquitous. Is evolution ubiquitous? Ubiquitous means it's present, appearing, or found everywhere. In other words, just everything is evidence for evolution. Well, I think the evidence that God's word is true and that plants and animals would always bring forth after their kind. Now that evidence is found everywhere. That is truly ubiquitous. My position is that God made everything in 6 days. He said in the 10 Commandments, remember the Sabbath, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, the stars, the dinosaurs, everything made in 6 days. You can see my video series where I have 18 hours on this topic, answering all kinds of questions, defending the Bible as being true. Our question answer number 10, video number 7 is 5 hours long on all about the starlight and what about carbon dating and stuff like that. We believe dinosaurs lived with man. So is evolution ubiquitous? Well, that depends what you mean by the word evolution. This is my debate number 229 for me, and I've learned you have to define what you're talking about. What do you mean by evolution? Do you mean cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter from the Big Bang where nothing exploded? No. Cosmic evolution is the term they use for the origin of everything. I think that is, there's absolutely no evidence for cosmic evolution, that matter can create itself out of nothing. There's no evidence for that. It's not ubiquitous. It's dumb. It doesn't happen. There's zero scientific evidence for cosmic evolution. Do you mean chemical evolution, where this Big Bang produced hydrogen and that hydrogen turned into all the other elements? Chemical evolution, there's no evidence of any of this, of any elements being able to create themselves or get into higher elements. If the Big Bang were true, it produced hydrogen, maybe some helium and lithium. Well, how do you get to iron? You can't fuse past iron. Iron cannot be fused into anything heavier because of the insane amounts of energy and force required to fuse iron atoms, from futurism.com. So no, there is no evidence of chemical evolution. The evidence chemicals forming themselves or combining beyond iron is zero. It is not ubiquitous. Do you mean stellar evolution, that the stars can form? They certainly talk about stellar evolution in the textbooks and on the internet. There's quite a bit about stars evolving. The silent embarrassment of modern astrophysics is we don't know how a single one of these stars managed to form. Nobody knows how stars evolve. Nobody. They have some theories that maybe the gases get together and light up. It's pure imagination. Typical star exists for billions of years. Well, they can believe that if they want. There's no evidence of any star forming. The origin of stars is an unsolved problem for contemporary astrophysics. It's been a problem all along. No one knows how a star's formation proceeds. It's remarkable. It doesn't happen. It's never been observed. So is the evidence for stellar evolution ubiquitous? No. There's no evidence for a star forming. And we got enough stuff to go 3 days on here. I want to get to the point here, right? Hang on. Okay. So is evolution for stellar evolution? Is there evidence? No, it's not ubiquitous. What about organic evolution? Life starting from non-living material. There is no evidence of how life can start from non-living material. Nobody knows how a mixture of lifeless chemicals spontaneously evolved into a living cell. Nobody knows. And I've got plenty of stuff on my seminar part 4 about the primordial soup and the so-called evolution coming from non-living material to living material. So is that what you mean by evolution? That life can come from non-life? No, that is certainly not ubiquitous. No evidence for, the Bible says God created life, okay? Then the last two, here we go. Macroevolution. Can an animal change to a different kind of animal, or a plant change to a different kind of plant? Macroevolution refers to large-scale evolution. For some, this means the origin of species. For others, it means large-scale changes seen in the fossil record. I would point out there's no such thing as a fossil record. There are fossils by the bazillions, but it's not a record. None of them talk. None have a date stamped on them. There is no fossil record, okay? So are you talking about macroevolution where animals can change to a different kind of animal? There's no evidence for that. It's not ubiquitous. Kennel Association recognized 339 breeds of dogs. They might have had a common ancestor called a dog, okay? Dogs, wolves, and coyotes might have had a common ancestor, and a 4-year-old can tell you a dog, a wolf, and a coyote is the same kind of animal. It's got 4 legs and hair on the outside and a tail at the back end. It's a dog. So evidence for God's word is true that plants and animals will always bring forth after their kind. Now that is ubiquitous. It's found everywhere. The evidence is overwhelming. 10 times in the very first chapter of the book, it says they will bring forth after their kind. That's all anybody has ever seen. Charlie Darwin wrote a book and called it The Origin of Species. Now there's where the trick came in. Speciation happens, but it's limited to the same kind. Is microevolution true? Now that one is true. Microevolution is a lousy word. We should not use it, but they do, so let's explain it. Changes within a species or small group of organisms, especially over a short period. What is an example of microevolution? Pesticide resistance, herbicide resistance, antibiotic resistance, all examples of microevolution. It's still the same plant or animal in every case. Mosquitoes have become resistant to certain pesticides they spray on them, okay? Average male sparrow size, it's larger up in Minnesota. Well, yeah, because it's cold and the large body type is necessary to maintain body heat. is still a sparrow. That's not evolution. Graph illustrates changes in global temperature from 1880 to 2000, and the mosquito population varied. It's still a mosquito. So there are, let's see, how many different varieties of ducks? I forget how many, like probably quite a few, right? Maybe 50 or so. They're still a duck. So the evidence that God's word is true and the animals will always bring forth after their kind is ubiquitous. Now that is everywhere. There are 50 varieties of watermelons now, and the evidence that they can bring forth after their kind is everywhere. Watermelons always produce baby watermelons without exception. If watermelons, that does not prove that watermelons are related to whales like you evolutionists believe with your SpongeBob wild imagination. There are about 500 kinds of mangoes. They might have had a common ancestor called a mango. God said they'd bring forth after their kind. There are 7,500 varieties of apples, and they might have had a common ancestor called an apple. That is ubiquitous, okay? What about the types of wasps? 17,000 varieties of wasps. Wow. 3,000 varieties of tomatoes. No, 15,000 varieties worldwide. Might have had a common ancestor. Tomato. But you guys put lines on your paper and say, aha, look at this. The wasp and the whale have a common ancestor. That is pure imagination. You're absolutely lying to the children. Tell them I said so. That is a bold-faced lie. God said he created all the animals to bring forth after their kind. That's all we've ever seen. Evidence that God's word is true and plants and animals would always bring forth after their kind. Now that is found everywhere, which is what the word ubiquitous means. There are 1,000 varieties of bananas. They bring forth after their kind. But you guys want to teach the kids that animals and fungi and plants are related to a common ancestor. That is lying to the students. I think I got 1 minute left, okay? So there are 4 different varieties of elephants. 2 seem to be extinct, the mammoth and the mastodon. They might have had a common ancestor, and it looked like an elephant. This is not science. This is religion down in the lower part of the circle. There are 1,100 different varieties of bats. God said they'd bring forth after their kind. That's all we've seen. The leopards bring forth the leopard kind. Cats, maybe leopards and tigers are related. I don't know. There are, let's see, oak trees. 60 varieties of oak trees. Might have had a common ancestor. 195 varieties of chickens. 60 species of oak. Wow, 3,000 kinds of tomato. God said they'd bring forth after their kind. So, Donald, the evidence that God's word is true is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And you better get ready. You're going to be judged by that book one of these days. 45 varieties of pumpkins. 1,100 species of pine tree. Yep. Evidence is ubiquitous for microevolution. Now, if you have some evidence for anything other than that, I would like to see it. Take the floor. Donald, tell me what you got.
Thank you very much. We'll kick it over to Donald indeed. And so, Donald, you've got about 8 minutes and 45 seconds or so.
Sure. Okay. Well, first, I'd like to thank Kent for conceding so early in the debate, but let's go ahead and have this conversation anyway, shall we? Before I'd like to start, I'd like to publicly make an invitation, since I'm pretty sure, Kent's going to want to preach rather than debate. I invite his God to come here and speak for itself. I've invited it several times to join the chat, and it never showed up. I asked believers to invite their God to join the chat, and none of them would do it. Don't know why. So, his God is welcome to come and join the debate and talk with us in here. And, you can get him hooked up if he actually comes and joins, if you don't mind. And he can have some of my time. So, yeah, because this isn't a debate about religion. It's meant to be a debate about evolution. So if God wants to speak about evolution, let's let him do that himself. Let's see if I can cram this down into 8 minutes. Okay, I wrote this out in advance, and I haven't read it since then. It's been a while, so bear with me. The state or action of being changed into another form is known as transmutation. The topic of this debate is evolution, not transmutation. Etymologically, evolution is the rolling out of change. That is, the process of changes being chained together or adding up to produce larger collective changes, known as cumulative change. Evolution is not the change itself, it's the process. Cumulative change is the result of the evolutionary process of changes adding up. I'm not very good at keeping things concise, so I'll try to speed things up by arguing not only my side of the debate, but also my debate opponent's side as well, at least to the extent that we agree. That way, Kent doesn't have to, waste time preaching about stuff we're not disagreeing with each other about. most likely there are going to be some things each of us are wrong about. So hopefully we can both learn something, either through the debate itself or through the question and answer session afterward, or perhaps more indirectly than that. Preferably all of those ways and more. If any of Kent's supporters are watching, perhaps they can request in the chat that he might allow questions and answer session to run into overtime, so the discussion can run a little longer, provided that's okay with the moderator. Kent, if you think you might have enough time to let that happen, let us know. If a non-religious non-theist, as a non-religious non-theist, I'm not bound by any doctrines, and I'm sure I will be expressing some disagreement with some of my fellow atheists, some of whom I deeply respect, yet who are not likely to be at all happy with my disagreement. That's okay, though. The truth is what matters. Learning is more important than agreeing. And besides, we aren't required to agree with each other. The only thing we can be reasonably sure all atheists agree with each other on is that theism hasn't convinced them it's right. I'll start by taking a positive stance, for which I will have the burden of proof, and then listing some of the things that Kent and I agree on. But if anyone wants to quote me on any of this, I ask that they include a link to the entire debate for context, if possible, or at least mention the debate and encourage people to look it up, because there are limits to some of these agreements, and there are also things that we disagree on. If I'm mistaken about any such agreement or disagreement, I look forward to being corrected. Theists often complain about atheists telling them that they have the burden of proof. But the only reason that happens is because theistic doctrines make positive claims. And as a result, theists tend to make positive claims based on their theistic doctrines. Atheism doesn't have any doctrines or positive claims. It's just a lack of theism. And I can't change that. If I, as an atheist, make a positive claim, it's my positive claim. It's not atheism's positive claim. So I'll start with a question, and Kent can give his answer to this question if he wants to as well. The question is as follows. Is it possible for a form of life as simple as a single-celled organism to evolve into a form of life as complex as a human being? My answer is yes. Yes, it is definitely possible. In fact, yes, it has definitely happened. There's my positive claim. Now I have the burden of proof on that claim. More specifically, I'm claiming that changes to a living single-celled life form can add up in such a way as to eventually produce a living multi-celled life form as complex as a human being, with each stage along the way surviving in its environment long enough for more such changes to add up, and therefore humans and other such complex life forms are not irreducibly complex. So let's look at some of the things we agree on. We both agree that the early 19th century theory of evolution, commonly known as Lamarckism, is nonsense. As it was known to be nonsense 50 years before Darwin published On the Origin of Species. Although Kent often mistakenly calls Lamarckism Darwinism, or treats it like it's a modern theory of evolution. We also both agree that some science textbooks have errors in them. For that matter, so do some mathematics textbooks. In fact, any book on any subject can have errors in it. We also agree that authors should try to keep errors to a minimum. Admit them when they happen and correct them in future publications when possible. And to be clear, we both agree that an amoeba wasn't the ancestor of all life, that cats don't produce dogs and dogs don't produce cats, and that in the rare event an elephant might try to mate with a pine tree, it's most likely not going to produce a viable offspring. We also agree that not all evolution is biological evolution. For clarification, I will say that the word evolution, when used in the context of biology, generally does refer to biological evolution, and people should be careful not to conflate one usage with another. What is meant by evolution or biological evolution often depends on context, including who's talking and what they're talking about. I'll try to be specific. I encourage others to do likewise when possible. We also agree that none of our grandparents were rocks, and that in reproduction, each life form tends to reproduce more of the same overall kind of life form, with some variation. However, I don't believe that it's likely that there's actually such thing as a supernaturally created kind outside of fiction. So on that point, I'm pretty sure we disagree. It seems we also agree that nested cladogenesis does happen. That is to say, dog parents always produce dog puppies, and Chihuahua parents always produce Chihuahua puppies. But since Chihuahuas are dogs, some dog parents produce Chihuahua puppies, while other dog parents might produce Great Dane puppies. The question I would like to address is whether or not evolution is ubiquitous. That is to say, is evolution happening pretty much all around us, essentially all of the time? I propose that the answer is yes. For the sake of clear communication, we need to make a distinction between evolution and history. When people talk about evolution, people talk about the history of evolution, that's not evolution, that's history. My worst subject and of little interest to me, although it is my opinion that natural history is the best kind of history because it's recorded by nature rather than claimed by humans, and that evolutionary history is the most interesting and likely most useful subset of natural history. There are two major usages of the word history. Put simply, one is the study of past events as a subject in general, and the other is any series of past events leading up to whatever it is they're viewed as part of the history of. For example, past events in any way contributing to modern dance having become what it is would be considered. What's that?
Got about 45 minutes or 45 seconds left.
Wow, 45 minutes left. That's a long time. Yeah, I'm not going to make it all the way through this, but I'll keep going until you stop me. Where was I? Process of accumulation of change to dance caused by those events constitutes the evolution of dance, and the accumulation of those changes to dance, which have stood the test of time, can be seen as the evolution of modern dance. Yeah. Likewise, any past events which have in any way contributed to modern Earth life becoming what it has become are considered part of the history of modern Earth life. Viewed from an evolutionary perspective, that is evolutionary history, not evolution itself. However, the process of surviving heritable changes to Earth life accumulating over many generations constitutes the evolution of life on Earth. Evolution does not record or dictate history. Humans record.
That is it. That was basically 8 minutes and 45 seconds on each side. So we'll jump into the open conversation. Do want to ask? Well, I'll give you. Let me finish. Let me give you a chance to finish that sentence, though, Donald. Sorry about that.
I had 3 paragraphs left, so if you want to cut me off in the middle of it, that's okay. Maybe I can bring it up during the, during the discussion, or who knows what.
Fair. All right.
I've got way more stuff than I can cover in the time we have.
Gotcha. We'll jump into the open discussion, which will be 45 minutes. I've got the timer set. The floor is all yours, gentlemen.
Donald, you brought up several things. You said the evolution of dance. Do you think that's happening by itself, or is there any intelligent input into that? Is this?
Well, there's definitely intelligent input into it, and yes, it is definitely happening. What's that?
Is that what you mean by evolution? That changes can happen with intelligence guiding the changes? Is that what you mean?
No, that's not what I mean by evolution. I said what I meant by evolution.
You mean by, that's why I said there are 6 different meanings to the word.
Oh, you want to address that?
About?
Sure. Let's address that. How about we do that? Okay, let's see.
I gave lots of examples of what's called microevolution. There are 400 varieties of cabbage. Is that proof enough to you that cabbage and mosquitoes are related?
Actually, if you recall, I was the one who told you about that. You didn't know about it at the time. Brassica eracea. Yeah, that was me on the phone. I told you I had taught you something. You said you didn't recall the conversation. That was it.
You taught me that there were 400 kinds of cabbage.
That was one of a few things I taught you, actually.
Okay, are you telling me that you taught me there are 400 kinds of cabbage? You might have done that. That's a good. Thank you for telling me. Is that? Well,
I didn't say exactly how many kinds, but I did bring it up to you, and I did bring up some of the variety, and I did talk about their evolution, how they evolved, why they evolved, and I'm glad you learned from it.
Donald, are they still cabbage?
Yes, and they're still mustard as well.
And they're still what?
They're still mustard as well.
They're still mustard. So is that evidence convincing to you that cabbage and mosquitoes are related if you go back in time far enough?
What's it have to do with mosquitoes?
Or do the charts?
Mosquitoes aren't an ancestor of cabbage. You can't go back in time and find mosquitoes from cabbage.
The charts we teach the kids in school, like I have up on the screen, show that whales and mosquitoes and cabbage have a common ancestor. They have lines going back to a single common ancestor.
They also have genes tracing them back to a common ancestor.
Okay, so
besides
do you,
the lines are just somebody's way of showing what the evidence is. That's not the evidence.
do you believe this chart represents science, that there is scientific evidence that
It
a
is
whale and a
representative
mosquito?
of it, yes. The chart is not the science, but yes, it does represent the science.
So I'm just going to try to get clear for the audience here. You believe whales and mosquitoes have a common ancestor sometime long ago and far away. What is the evidence that
I don't have a belief in such a thing. The evidence indicates that, yes.
What evidence indicates that whales and mosquitoes are related?
Genetic genetic evidence strongly indicates. And not just that they're related, but exactly how they're related.
Okay. I think I could show you thousands of books right here in my library that all use a common code called the English language, 26 letters.
Yeah. Have you heard of the book of Pandas and People?
Yes.
There's a particular case where an ancestor of one version of that book was shown to be an ancestor of that version of that book because of the evidence left behind in it. There was a transitional fossil left in the book.
There was.
That was in a court case.
Donald, I would say the English language has 26 letters, and that's the common code that all English books are written in.
Did you know that did you know ampersand used to be a letter in the English alphabet?
Just to be sure, what we might have to do is just to kind of eliminate the interruptions. We might have to kick into like a 3-minute response from each side.
Nah. I'll just let him talk. I've got stuff to say. When he's ready to let me say it, he can go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Ken.
So I want to make sure I understand you clearly what your position is. You think that this chart is showing the kids the truth that whales and mosquitoes have a common ancestor because they have the same DNA code. Is that your evidence for relationship? They have the same code that the life form is written in?
That is the evidence, yes. And I know for a fact that chart is an extreme oversimplification. But yes, it probably is intended to show them the truth as well as could be shown for someone of that age in a textbook.
So you think it's okay to show? You're saying you think it's okay to show students in school by the millions at taxpayer expense that whales and mosquitoes have a common ancestor by using this chart? What's that?
Is that what we're debating? Because I thought the debate.
Yes, you said the evidence for evolution is ubiquitous. You're saying the evidence is everywhere. Where is the evidence that mosquitoes and whales have a common ancestor? You're saying the DNA
in
code?
The genetics. You got that right. It's in the genetics.
Okay. I would agree. They have many similarities in the DNA code, the CATG, but that could prove the same designer made the code.
Yeah, except it's not just a matter of similarities.
One sec. I'm going to give you a chance to respond.
I'm interrupting too much again?
One sec. Donald, they are saying, Donald, that I think your mic might be bumping into your shirt, and it causes a noise that is distracting.
Sorry. Here. Let me try to fix that if I can. If I tuck that through here, maybe.
Let it evolve.
Then it shouldn't bounce around. Is that better?
think that's better.
Okay, hopefully it will be.
Okay, Donald, would it be okay if someone chose to believe that the whale and the mosquito have a common designer? Because all we've ever actually seen...
It's okay for someone to believe.
You said you wouldn't interrupt. All we've ever actually seen is whales produce whales. We've never seen a whale produce a non-whale. Never. So why would you say it's science to believe it happened in the past when it can't happen today? Science is things we can observe, study, and test and demonstrate. They observe whales making baby whales. That's as far as it goes.
Are you ready for an answer to that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear an answer to that one.
Okay. Yeah, we have observed many things giving rise to things that they weren't. What they don't do is stop being what they were.
Wait. That's a contradictory statement. Say that
No,
slower.
It's not at all a contradictory statement.
Okay.
As I said, the cabbages are still mustard. Broccoli is still a mustard.
Are they still plants?
They're still plants as well, yes. Plants never...
Does that prove plants and whales are related?
There's only one way that a plant reproducing sexually could produce a non-plant, and that is for it to mate with a non-plant. And if, for example, if a pine tree mated with an elephant successfully, do you know what that would be? Do you know what the result would be?
Stupid.
The result would be a eukaryote. because that's what they both are. Both parents would be eukaryotes, the offspring would be eukaryotes. So yes, they would be producing the same, as you call it, kind. The thing is, I don't see any evidence that those are created kinds. I see, yes, you can use the word kind, okay, and I can go along with that. And it can be vague or very specific depending on how you go about using it. But yeah, if an elephant in a pine tree successfully mated, whether through help from a laboratory or somehow they did it on their own, their offspring would be a eukaryote.
You're aware, of course, that it is not possible in any laboratory, if a group of scientists, intelligent scientists, could take the gene code from an elephant and cross it with the gene code from a pine tree to create a pelephant, okay? That would prove it takes intelligence to do this. It doesn't happen in nature. All we see, all we observe is pine trees produce pine trees. I got thousands of them on my property here. Come see them. Pine trees make pine trees every time. But you think, Donald, you think pine trees came from a single-celled organism, don't you?
Yes.
Why would you believe such a thing?
Every last one of them.
Every pine tree came from a single-celled organism.
Yep.
Is that what you believe?
Yep.
And you want
every pine tree? Every pine tree was a single-celled organism at one stage in its life, and it came from that, and it survived every stage along the way. And by the way, the word evolution was used to describe an embryo's development long before it was used to describe the evolution of life over generations.
Now, that's where I started at the beginning asking, what exactly do you mean by evolution? If a single
all
cell,
of the things you named and none of the things you called
Hold
them.
on, Donald.
Okay.
Just the interruptions.
Just
we might have to go to a three-minute interval.
I was only trying to answer him, letting him go.
If a sperm and an egg combine to make a zygote, a single cell, and it slowly develops into a human being, is that, in your mind, evolution?
That is one type of evolution, yes. That is not reproductive evolution, and the changes that it makes over its lifetime will not be passed on. If it, for example, comes into contact with some chemical that changes, that affects its eye color, so it ends up with purple eyes, it doesn't mean its offspring are going to have purple eyes. It doesn't have the genetics to have that happen. It just, had that happen as a development during its lifetime.
I taught biology 15 years. I understand that extremely well. But would you agree that the zygote forming from a sperm and an egg is following a code as it develops? What told it to divide and make two? And eventually you get a right and a left side of the body. This is an incredibly complicated four-dimensional code, way more than our two-dimensional, code that we use for our computers. This is four-dimensional, three-dimensional, four-part code. This is not simple. If you're thinking that a single cell is developing into a pine tree because the pollen fell on the seed and pollinated it, and that is what you mean by evolution, then you're being very deceitful to let the kids get a chart. Yes, you are. To let a kids get a chart like this, that's evidence that a pine tree and a whale are related.
You're conflating.
That is deceitful.
No, you are conflating.
Complaining. I'm pointing out the
obvious. No, I said you are conflating. Science. You are conflating one.
Okay.
Yes, you are conflating two different things.
It's not science to say that a pine tree.
That is not the evolution of an embryo. That is evolution of many, many, many generations of populations. And what's represented in the pictures is a simple depiction of some member or some representative graphic representation of of that particular population at that point in the graph that they're showing. That's all that is. It's, as I mentioned, an oversimplification, but that is population genetics. That's reproductive evolution. That's not evolution of an embryo. And it's also not cosmic evolution. By the way, you have said that cosmic evolution is the origin of time and space, the Big Bang. That's an origin, not a process. Evolution is a process. Cosmic evolution is the evolution of the cosmos. In other words, cosmic evolution is the process of change accumulating or being accumulated. As the cosmos changes, it adds up changes. That doesn't matter whether that you and I are part of the cosmos. We're part of cosmic evolution. In other words, the accumulation of developmental changes and generative changes and destructive changes and all other kinds of changes that have accumulated anywhere in the universe during all of time and across all of space potentially including whatever caused the Big Bang, although we currently have no way of knowing that. But certainly including the accumulation of changes that produce subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, complex chemicals, galaxies, stars, planets, weather patterns, ecosystems, biology, cellular life, multicellular life, the diversity of ocean life, land life, mammals like us, and even human cultures. However, evolution is not an origin event as you keep making it out to be. It's a process.
Well, in order for anything to evolve, it has to exist. How did it come into existence? Where did matter come from?
Well, evolution creates things.
Evolution has a will, a mind. Is evolution? Is your God named Evolution?
No. Why would you conflate a natural process with a supernatural deity?
Well, you are giving a natural process, as you call it, deity powers to create. Where did time, space, and matter come from? You said evolution created.
You are assigning those things to a deity. You're assigning those as deity powers. I'm not.
So are you.
I recognize the natural processes.
This natural process is your God. You think that natural process can create time, space, and matter and create life from non-living material.
I didn't say that. I said that's something we don't know yet.
Say it. You'd be embarrassed to say it. I'll say it for you. You believe evolution is your God.
So you're strawmanning me on purpose now.
No. You said where did time, space, matter come from? You said evolution created it. So you're giving
that's not what I said. No, again, you're strawmanning me. I did not say that.
Tell me where time, space, matter came from one more time.
I don't know. Neither do you.
Well, is it okay if I say I believe God did it? And since you don't know, and so wait, since nobody knows, why are we teaching all this to the kids in public school like we do know?
You could say the tooth fairy did it too. It wouldn't make it true.
Oh, I agree. See, I'm not telling everybody they've got to pay to teach my religion in the school. You want everybody to pay to teach your religion.
Well, but you do sell your books and you do go to schools and do your preaching and stuff like that. So yeah, in a way you are actually. You are actually doing what you just said you don't do. But if we can get on with the actual debate.
Wait a minute. No, I'm not going to let that one slide. I am not requiring the taxpayers to pay my salary while I teach them that mosquitoes and whales came from a rock. I'm not doing that.
See?
Your textbooks show you that animals and fungi and plants have a common ancestor. I think they're lying.
So you're strawmanning them as well.
No, it's not straw.
I already told you. I already said in my opening statement. We agree that we didn't come from a rock.
Well, the books teach that.
No, not any that got it right, and most of them do get it right. Yes, some make errors.
Donald, let me ask you a simple question. Do you believe the Earth was a hot molten ball of rock 4.6 billion years ago? You don't believe that?
No, I believe that the Earth was a hot molten ball of a whole lot of different elements, and that it was liquid. It was not rock.
Okay. Did the liquid cool down and turn to rock?
Some of it.
Some of it did. Okay. On the surface. Did it rain on those rocks for millions of years and make oceans?
No.
It didn't? Where did the primordial soup come from?
Who said anything about primordial soup? We were talking about the early Earth.
Yeah, the textbooks teach that life had to form in this primordial soup.
Yeah, but you're jumping way ahead. You were talking about the early Earth. The early Earth had water in it.
So where did this water come from?
As I said, it was a mixture of a bunch of different elements.
And where did these elements come from? From nothing?
Well, we're getting into cosmic evolution and stellar evolution. Do you want me to go into details?
You chose the title for the debate. Is evolution ubiquitous?
I'm ready for it. If that's what you want. Okay. You want me to go into details? I did have other things I was going to try to add, but yeah.
Okay. Your claim is that the evidence for evolution is everywhere. Which kind of evolution are you talking about?
Evolution. I'm not talking about one kind. I'm talking about evolution.
And what do you mean by that word? That dogs and pine trees are related?
It has nothing to do with dogs and pine trees. Evolution is the process of change accumulating or being accumulated. It is a process. It's not a history. It's not a claim. It's not a story. It's not a religion. It has nothing to do with any of the stuff you make it out to be. Evolution is a process. That's all it is.
You think that the evidence for evolution, for a process, is ubiquitous. The process of changing to a different kind. I showed you that there are 400
you're strawmanning me again.
I am not. I'm trying to get you to understand. Okay, let me try to make it simple. Okay.
You can ask me about that. I'll answer it.
Okay, there are 60 varieties of oak trees. They might have had a common ancestor called a tree. Is that evidence that trees and mosquitoes are related in your mind?
No, that has nothing to do with mosquitoes.
Okay, well,
you didn't mention mosquitoes in that, so no, it doesn't.
Let's try another one.
The fact that they're both eukaryotes does.
So the fact that they're both eukaryotes, the mosquito and the oak tree are both eukaryotes, therefore they are related in your mind. Is that
because
correct?
they have both inherited genes from primitive eukaryotes, and there is a trail of how those genes were inherited, and what are their closest relatives, and exactly how they're related to each other. It's all in the genetics. It's all in the code. It's all in the exact order of the DNA. It's like reading a book.
Okay, where's this code? Where's this? You said there's a trail of how this happened. What is it? What trail are you referring to, Donald?
I'm talking about, well, for one, endogenous retroviruses, which are inherited.
So the fact that different species have endogenous retroviruses is indication they have a common ancestor?
It's not the fact that they have them. It's exactly where they have them in their genome and exactly what changes to them have happened over time as they have passed them on from generation to generation to generation, because those changes are trackable across the different species, across the different genuses, across the families and larger groups. These are all things that, I mean, for example, there's several endogenous retroviruses that all mammals have, but we don't all have the exact same copy of. Some of them have evolved a little bit. They've accumulated little changes. They've microevolved.
Okay. Now, would you agree that computer code to write, let's say, Microsoft PowerPoint, the program code to write PowerPoint, how many lines of code would that be, Steve? Millions of lines of code to make PowerPoint. Are there any mistakes in Microsoft PowerPoint code, do you think? Did you think over the years the programmer might have made a mistake?
Yes.
They still find mistakes, okay?
Yes.
Does that therefore prove that nobody wrote the code?
No. Why would you even insinuate
We're getting somewhere.
that?
We're getting somewhere. Good. Well, because you think because there are endogenous retroviruses, we'll call that a mistake.
Instead of telling me what I think, why don't you ask me?
Okay. Do you believe that the evidence of a mistake in the genetic code, which is way more complicated than Microsoft PowerPoint code, is evidence that nobody wrote that code?
No.
You do? Yes, you do. I'll answer for you. Yes, you do.
Well, there you go. Strawmanning me again. Okay. Why? Why do you strawman me?
Do you agree that the code in a single cell is more complex, has more lines of code than Microsoft PowerPoint with its millions of lines of code?
It doesn't have any lines of code at all. We call it a code by analogy. It is actually a poor analogy, but it is an analogy. And yes, that is a common thing that it's called. But that's kind of like when they call the Earth spinning when it's rotating at 1 revolution every 24 hours. The word spin is defined as rapid rotation. The Earth doesn't rotate rapidly. The Earth does not spin. But I recognize that people refer to planetary spin when what they mean is planetary rotation. That's a well-known historic use of the word. It is colloquial, and I will not use it that way, but I do understand that other people do.
Okay, so how about the information found in the genetic code? Everybody refers to it as a genetic code, the 4-part CATG, and whereas our binary code we use only has 2, plus minus, or on off, or yes no. So the code that man uses,
but yes.
The code that man uses for all of his computers is primitive compared to the code found in all life forms. Very primitive. And yet you think
much more precise.
Right. And you think nobody wrote that code?
No, I'm saying the code on computers is much more precise. What
You
you're
think the
calling
code
code
in
in genetics
computers
is
is more-
loosely able to be called code because it doesn't behave as predictably as what you call code in a computer.
Well, do you think the code in computer, is there any chance this code could happen by chance?
Yes.
There is.
I have written programs to do exactly that. I've actually written programs that write other programs, make them up as they go.
Okay, think about what you are saying. You have created a program.
Right?
Do you have an intelligent mind?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
And
intelligent.
And I'm not saying your God didn't make the Big Bang. He is invited to come speak for himself if he wants to say he did. Otherwise, we have nothing more to say about your God. Let's talk about evolution.
God is busy. He sent me to straighten you out. Okay.
So your God isn't powerful enough to take a little
I
time off and speak for himself?
Oh, no,
he has to have.
he's fine.
You think you can speak for your God better than he can?
Oh no, he's already spoken very clearly. He actually wrote a book. I've read it many times.
Yeah, actually, no, he didn't. That was written by human beings.
Well,
you think they could speak better? You think they could speak for him better than he can?
Well, if I dictate a letter to my secretary and she writes it, it's my words. Write this down, secretary, and she writes it down. Is it my words?
Why couldn't God? So then, why couldn't God keep them from getting all those errors introduced into all the different translations? I mean, if it was really his words.
Well, we're way off topic. I would defy you to show me an error in the King James Bible. But that's another. Let's have another. We'll have another.
Okay, we're not on that topic. So let's stick to the topic at hand. The Bible has evolved. We both know that.
No, we don't know that.
Yes, we do. The Bible has accumulated changes over time. It has been translated and retranslated, and each time that happens, it gets little changes. And sometimes those changes get corrected, but the correction is also a change being made. So when an error happens, that's a change. If someone corrects that error, that's another change. Sometimes that change will exactly undo the change that was made accidentally, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes someone will correct something that they thought was an error, and it wasn't actually an error, and they end up introducing an error by trying to correct an error. All of that is part of the evolution of the Bible. The Bible has evolved.
That's exactly what you are doing. You're introducing an error to try to correct what you think is an error. The fact is, cows produce cows, and dogs produce dogs, and mosquitoes produce mosquitoes without exception. And you're introducing an error into our textbook by saying that's proof that they're related long ago and far away. It's fairy tale.
You're strawmanning me again.
No, I'm not. I'm pointing out the obvious to anybody.
I did not say that. You have repeatedly said that I'm saying that, and I haven't said it once.
Okay, well, let me show you the chart again, okay? Do you believe these charts are accurate that say animals and plants have a common ancestor? This is found in all the biology textbooks.
That's a statement. I don't need a chart for the statement. Yes, the statement is true. We do have evidence. We do have evidence that they have a common ancestor. Yes. Actually, it's probably not just a common ancestor. It's probably a common population ancestor, not an individual ancestor. But it doesn't really matter. And the reason why I specify that is because if you go back as far as unicellular animals, or not animals, unicellular life forms, there's a lot of horizontal gene transfer, and it gets a little bit of a gray area. Who is whose parent?
I know who my parents were.
Yeah, because you're not you're not unicellular. You evolved from an egg.
I evolved?
Yes, you evolved from a fertilized egg. You didn't evolve generation by generation from an egg. Your cells evolved generation by generation from a fertilized egg and produced the colony of cells that is your body.
I agree. I'm a colony of cells. There are probably more cells in the human body than there are stars in the sky.
Yeah, there are a lot of stars. And there are a lot of cells in the body. And you know what most of those cells in the human body are? They're not human. The vast majority, by number,
formed by chance. Each one of those cells is more complex than the space shuttle.
By number, you are more bacteria than human.
Wow.
Okay. There are more bacterial cells in you than human cells because bacterial cells are very small.
I agree. You chose the title for the debate that the evidence for evolution is ubiquitous. And
no, that wasn't the title. It's evolution is ubiquitous. Yes, the evolution is also ubiquitous, but that wasn't it.
Okay.
The evidence is ubiquitous, but the title is
evidence for evolution is everywhere. And yet
evolution is everywhere.
Evolution is everywhere. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And so by that word evolution, you mean change. So you
No.
have to have you have to have something to change. Where did the matter, the time, the space come from? Where did the energy come from for this? Where did the food come from for all these organisms to eat all this time?
Should
Where
we
did
back
the
up to where you
code
just
come
got me
from?
wrong again?
What now?
Should we back up to where you just strawmanned me again? Where you asked you, that's what I meant. I said no.
I am trying to figure out what you think you believe. I don't think you know either, but
This
go ahead.
isn't a matter of belief. Linguistics is my field, one of several actually.
Okay.
Evolution is the process of change adding up. It's not just change. If you roll a dice and you get a 6, and then you turn it over and you get a 1, the change from a 6 to a 1 was not evolution. The turning it over was evolution, because the turning it over is movement, and movement is the accumulation of change in position.
Okay. You evolve your dice for 20 billion years. When will you get a 7?
As soon as you paint on an extra dot.
Oh, so somebody has to actually add this, an intelligent source.
Well, that's one way. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's one way.
So just rolling the dice would give you, just one dice would give you a 7, a 6-sided dice? Oh, yeah.
No,
okay.
you didn't say 6-sided dice. I have 12-sided dice.
Okay. All right. You have said many things I'd love to discuss here briefly. I'd like you to explain. The evidence for evolution is ubiquitous, and your example of evolution is a process whereby things change. So if you changed, if you roll the dice, two 6-sided dice enough times, will you ever get a 13 or a 14? They change each time you roll the dice within limits.
Not as long as they're still 6-sided dice, because you're not allowing that to change. You're limiting one of the changes that they're allowed to do.
Okay, we've seen a lot of change.
If you're allowed to modify one of the dice, then sure, you might get that. But see, you're restricting evolution to a certain thing. That's kind of like asking, if a dog keeps having chihuahuas as babies, will it ever end up having a non-chihuahua as a baby? Well, the answer is it's going to keep having, if it's a chihuahua, it's going to keep having chihuahuas as a baby until it mates with something that isn't a chihuahua.
Would it still be a dog?
Yes.
Well, then that's not evolution.
Actually, it would still be a wolf, and if it mated with a wild wolf, the result of that would also still be a wolf. And if it mated with a dog in the larger sense, not domesticated dogs, but dogs as the group that contains wolves and foxes, if it, for example, mated with a fox and produced a viable offspring, that would also be a dog, but not a domesticated dog. That would be a dog in the larger clade sense.
Okay.
If the result of that, if that dog then mated with a cow and produced a viable offspring, the result would be a mammal.
Linguistics.
Because both parents are mammals, their offspring would be a mammal. There is no inconsistency there with what the modern theory of biological evolution actually says. The modern synthesis theory of biological evolution has all of this covered and then some, but you keep going back to Lamarckianism.
Is a mosquito a mammal?
No.
Okay. Somewhere in the past, and by your theory, whatever the ancestor was, some of them turned into mosquito, which is non-mammal, and some of them turned into dog, which is mammal. But yet you believe they had a common ancestor, don't you?
Well, their common ancestor was non-mammal, non-mosquito.
So it changed into something other than its same kind. The Bible says they bring forth after their kind. What evidence do you have to contradict Genesis chapter 1? God said they'll bring forth after their kind.
Their common ancestor was metazoa. They are both metazoa. And if they mated with each other, if you could somehow get them to mate with each other and produce a viable offspring, that too would be metazoa, an animal, just like us humans.
It has never been observed in science, which science deals with what we can observe, study, and test. It has never been observed.
You've seen the whole universe. You've observed everything for all of time, because you're saying it's never been observed.
No,
you might want to be careful of that.
Universe. But if you want to use that,
then you might want to. Then you might want to qualify it with you don't know of it, because you're showing your ignorance, not what is fact. Now, what are you saying you're ignorant of?
No scientist on the planet, no human on the planet has ever seen an apple produce a non-apple or a dog produce a non-dog. We've seen variations within the apple kind. There are now 7,500 varieties of apples. Most have been produced by some farmer to grow in his particular soil or climate, but they're still apple. But yet
we're still in agreement on that.
Good. But you believe apples and mosquitoes have a common ancestor, don't you?
The evidence indicates it. I don't have a need to believe or disbelieve it. I know what the evidence shows.
Where's the evidence of any mosquito ever producing a non-mosquito?
Are we going to go in circles because you've already asked me that and I've already answered it?
Because you don't even understand that you don't have an answer. You don't even understand.
I do have an answer, and I gave you the answer. Apparently, you don't comprehend the answer, and you don't seem to remember either. Because after I've told you we agree on something, you keep going back and treating me like I disagree.
Okay.
How about we go to chemical evolution? Wait, how about we go to chemical evolution? Okay. It seems to me that you've said that chemical evolution is the origin of higher elements from hydrogen. That's what you said, more or less, right?
The textbooks say that the Big Bang produced hydrogen and maybe some helium.
What do you say?
I say God created all the elements.
Okay. What do you say chemical evolution is defined as?
The changing from the hydrogen into the other chemicals, the other elements.
That's what I said. Okay.
Do you believe that
Again, that is an origin, not a process. Evolution is a process. Chemical evolution, which includes molecular evolution, is the evolution of chemistry. Whether at the molecular level or the atomic fusion and fission doesn't really matter. In other words, chemical evolution is the process of chemical change accumulating or being accumulated, which is a subset of change accumulating or being accumulated. Chemical evolution is therefore evolution. If you have a definition of some kind of evolution that is not a process of change accumulating or being accumulated, then it's not a definition of evolution at all.
Okay. Do you believe the Big Bang produced hydrogen that somehow, over whatever process you want, turned into gold? We do have gold on the planet.
I know the evidence does indicate that, and I know the details of how as well. Do I believe it? No, I don't disbelieve it either. I know what the evidence indicates, and it seems probable.
So it seems probable to you that hydrogen gas can be turned into gold. Would you please do that?
Has done so.
Make me some gold out of hydrogen gas. I want to see that.
Do I have a Big Bang in my pocket?
I almost said something unkind.
Go for it. We're having fun here, right? I mean, you're enjoying this, aren't you?
Oh, I love
it.
Go
for it.
I think most of the audience can see clearly what's going on here. There is
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Well, good.
Okay, how about we go to stellar evolution and planetary evolution? You've defined stellar and planetary evolution as the origin of stars and planets, right?
Has anybody ever seen a star form?
Okay, that is how you've defined it, right?
Well,
the origin of stars and planets.
Okay, we would agree, I think. There are lots of stars out there. We would agree that we see them blow up once in a while, called a nova or supernova. Has anybody ever seen a star form? Not explode, I mean a form from dust cloud.
Not that I'm aware of. Why?
Because there's a lot of stars out there. How do you explain the existence of all?
We have seen the various stages of them forming, but it takes a really long time. So because it takes a really long time, we can look at the stages and we can watch them changing a little bit from one stage toward another stage. But we, at this point, our technology to view them is still somewhat primitive. So we can't do that very well just yet. So but that's diverting from the topic at hand and the question I just asked. Do you define stellar evolution and planetary evolution as the origin of stars and planets?
Well,
is that the definition you've been telling people that scientists are using?
You have to have an explanation for the formation of stars.
That's not an answer to my question.
I'm trying. All we've ever seen in the history of humanity is stars blowing up. That is the opposite of stars forming. Nobody's ever observed a star forming. You can imagine it if you wish, but it's not science. It's your religion.
Would you know what gravity is, right?
Is a religion that you believe in? Can you admit that at least? That's your religion.
No.
Your God's
name is me again. You are strawmanning me again.
Okay.
You know what gravity is, correct?
Nobody knows what gravity is. We know what it does. I can tell you.
Okay, you know what gravity does, right?
You know what gravity does, yes.
Okay, so if there is a lump of rock out there, a planet, a molten ball of lava, a magma, whatever you want to call it, if there's something heavy out there, maybe a gold coin floating in space, or a teacup, or a tea kettle for that matter, something out there heavy enough to have enough gravity to attract hydrogen to it, and it's in a large hydrogen cloud, a hydrogen cloud the size of our galaxy. Just loose hydrogen out there. What do you suppose will happen to that large hydrogen cloud over time if there's nothing else affecting it except its own gravity and the gravity of that random heavy object?
We've got about 5 minutes for Q&A.
I did not interrupt you. Give me a chance to answer. Your analogy you're trying to make here assumes that you have the hydrogen to begin with, and that you have gravity to begin with, and that you have space. Which goes back to an analogy. Now, you interrupted me.
Sorry.
That goes back to the issue of time, space, matter. Where did the space come from for this cloud to exist in? Where did the time come from for it to slowly? And where did the force
you do have to let him finish.
Where did
but he's not finishing. He's asking another question.
Who created the force of gravity? Gravity is pretty cool. I use it all the time. But who created that force?
Will you answer the question?
Go ahead.
Will you answer the question that was asked?
I am very confused about which question you're talking about.
Okay. Then let me answer it for you. Gravity will attract the hydrogen to the heavier object because the heavier object has a center of gravity. Okay, so we agree. So you've just tackled star formation. Now we know gravity creates stars.
Well, no, we know
you've got more than enough, because you've got more than enough hydrogen in that size cloud to form a star. We just need time and gravity. You've just answered the question. Accumulation of change in position of hydrogen atoms is all we need. Therefore, evolution of that gas cloud will form a star. That is stellar evolution. It's not an origin story. It's not defined as the origin of a star. It is a process by which stars form and change.
So you still did not answer where the hydrogen came from, where the space came from, where the force of energy came from.
Because we don't have time. Of course I can answer those things.
I'd like to
hear, because we're running up on question and answer, and we run out of time. I've got all kinds of stuff here that I wish we had time to go in, but you wanted a short debate. How about we come back for part two? How about
people can get explaining all this?
How about we come back for round 2, round 3, round 4, whatever it takes to actually get to the stuff? You want answers to your questions? I'll give them to you. Are you willing to handle that?
Oh, I'll pick the title next time. But yes, sir, I'll be glad to take you on again.
No, same title, because we aren't done with this one.
I think we've done. Is evolution ubiquitous?
Well, if we're done, then I've already won, because you already conceded in your opening statement. You already conceded that microevolution is ubiquitous, and microevolution is just evolution. A small amount of it, whatever you define as a small amount of it. A small amount of it could be enough to go all the way from a single-celled organism to humans, depending on what you're comparing it to, because small is relative.
Okay, so I conceded that there are 45 varieties of pumpkins. That is microevolution. I will concede. That does not.
No, that's not evolution. That's varieties. That's not a process. You still haven't paid attention to what the definition is.
James, we're getting nowhere. Let's go to question answer.
Evolution is the process of Q&A.
So, want to say thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for your questions, and I want to remind you that our guests are linked in the description, so you can check out those links right now. And Amy Newman, there are a couple. Most of these are serious questions that I'll keep my promise, because I promised before. We'll plug an after show no matter whose channel it's on. So first, Amy Newman says, running an after show tonight, and says, Dr. Hovind, if you believe in microevolution but not macro, isn't that still a belief in some form of evolution?
We have observed over centuries of human activity 45 pumpkins producing a variety of pumpkins. That is observable. I like science, which is things we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. I think I can demonstrate that pumpkins will always produce pumpkins, no matter how many times you try to produce something else. So yes, I don't think the word microevolution is a term we should use, but it's used already. We're stuck with it. So I think it happens, but that's as far as it goes. There is no evidence of a pumpkin ever producing a non-pumpkin or coming from a non-pumpkin. If somebody wishes to believe that, they should admit that that is their religion. The books will teach the kids, hey kids, pumpkins have a common ancestor with animals. I'll show you the chart. There we go. Plants and animals have a common ancestor. We don't know that. You can believe that if you wish, but that's a religious belief. It is not scientific. Science is what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. We can demonstrate pumpkins produce pumpkins. That's as far as it goes.
Next,
If somebody wishes to, you get time in a minute. Somebody wishes to believe otherwise, believe whatever you want, but call it a religion and get it out of the science books. Go teach it in a private school. Pay your tuition and teach them whatever you want to teach them. Teach them the tooth fairy if you want. I resent teaching evolution as macroevolution in the public schools. It's a religion. Go ahead.
I hate to
I'll
interrupt.
leave my
Sorry.
question for round two because I don't want to take up the time from the.
Gotcha. Next up, Standing for Truth. Thanks for your super chat. Says, debate on my channel right after this. Matt Slick versus Snake was right on morality. Well, that sounds juicy. And Kakarot, thanks for your question. And don't worry, we have questions for you too, Donald. So first, Kakarot says, I've never seen those 6 levels of evolution in any textbook, Kent. That's because you made up those 6 levels as a straw man argument. I guess there's 2 things, whether or not it's in the textbooks and whether or not it's a straw man.
We didn't get our closing statements. Do we get those after the questions?
The format that I have is 8-minute openings that we talked about before the debate, 45-minute convo, 20-minute.
And then the question and answer. I thought there was a closing statements thing.
But,
okay.
We'll give you a chance to respond if you'd like, Kent. So that was whether or not those different categories of evolution exist in textbooks. They say they've never seen them and that it's a straw man.
Well, if you go back and watch my slides carefully, as I was doing my introduction, my first 8 minutes, I showed right from the internet and right from textbooks the cosmic evolution, chemical evolution, stellar evolution, macroevolution, organic evolution. That's terms that they use. So if they didn't see them in the textbooks, they didn't do their homework, did they?
Gotcha. And next up, this one for you, Donald. This one's from Noble Eagle 100. It says, Kronos, assuming that someone doesn't exist, such as God, just because that person doesn't join your conversation is a non sequitur fallacy, bad atheist argument.
And I haven't given that argument. I invited him. If he wants to show up, he can if he exists.
Next,
I didn't say he doesn't. Go ahead.
Next up, Mike Billars, thanks for your question, said, Kent, do you accept that a mustard produced a cabbage plant?
I think modern man has done a lot of genetic manipulation to get mustards to produce a variety of different, what we would probably still call the mustard family. It's still a plant. It's been manipulated by man. Is that evidence that cabbage is related to whales and mosquitoes in this person's mind? I think that farmers have been able to produce wild numbers of varieties of corn or mustard plants, the wild mustard, and domesticated plants. Sure. That's mankind taking an already existing gene code and developing a slice of that code for their particular environment or climate or soil type or whatever. It's still a plant. They didn't create anything. You could select all the dog population down to get small dogs or big dogs, but it's still dog. And somebody is selecting this to happen. And most of the varieties of plants that have been created by man would not survive without somebody babysitting them, i.e. a farmer. Probably the cabbages we have today would never turn them all loose in the woods, go plant them. Within a year or two, they will have reverted back to something else or died off because they're genetically inferior to the original. So man has manipulated plants and animals for centuries to produce a particular variety that they want. Somebody created the Chihuahua. Why? I have no idea. It's the dumbest, most useless dog in the world. And it wouldn't survive 5 minutes out there in the wild. But there are Chihuahuas.
Gotcha.
And they're still dog. They're a small slice of a gene code that everybody would call dog.
Gotcha.
Wolf, dog, coyote had a common ancestor. I mentioned that earlier. It's still in this dog kind.
That's
not
to
evolution.
answer the question.
We do have to go to the next one. By the way, folks, those of you who are listening, we only have time for basically all the questions we have. There's no way we can get to any new questions. So please if you submit a new question, we can't get to it with the limited time that we have. We're going to try to get through as many as we can that we have. Sphincter of Doom says, Kent, you're using a false dichotomy that evolution is wrong, then creationism is true. No?
Excellent point. The fact that evolution is wrong and is not scientific does not automatically prove creation is true. A good point. There's only two options anybody's ever thought of. Somebody created this world, or the world created itself. If you can think of the third option, I'd love to hear it. But all anybody's ever thought of is somebody made it or nobody made it. I can't even imagine a third option. So if you want to believe nobody made it, that's fine. Then I would have the right to ask you, if you want me to pay that to be taught to the kids, where's the evidence for that? Which is what I've been asking for. Nobody's ever seen matter come into existence out of nothing. But the Big Bang baloney that they teach in school is that a dot, a trillionth the size of a proton, contained all the matter in the universe. You couldn't squeeze a bowling ball into a dot that size, let alone the Pacific Ocean or the whole universe. It is absolutely insane to believe such a thing. So
you could answer the question.
Bigger point, I'm not asking everybody to teach my religion in the public schools. I think in science class, we should teach science. You could learn the bones, the names of the muscles, the flexors, the extenders, the radius, the ulna, the scapula, without studying origins at all. Creation or evolution is unrelated. Just teach anatomy, teach biology, teach earth science. Kids, this is a rock, this is metamorphic, this is igneous. You don't have to explain where it came from, because neither side's going to be happy with the other side's answer. So why do we have this exclusive monopoly of the religion of evolution being taught in our school system? If you wish to believe that, go teach it in a private school.
Question for Donald.
But it doesn't belong in public schools at
James?
all.
I'm sorry, but we've got to keep moving. We've got a lot of questions.
Since he's avoiding answering the questions and just preaching instead, I would like my closing statement at the end of the questions, please. It's a short one.
It wasn't agreed upon
if we
earlier,
can.
So if you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. But
I'm fine with it. Go for it.
He's fine with it.
Next up, Logical, Plausible, Probable says, Donald, what program have you written that can write new functional programs by itself? What language, what framework? $100 says you're wrong.
Actually, I've done it in several different languages on several different computers. It's way back in the past, and I don't think I ever actually named any of them. They were tools I used. I make tools, I use tools. This is the benefit of understanding what evolution is and how it works, that you can take advantage of it to do things.
Next up, Elisa Oliveira, thank you for your question. Said, if God created all life and evolution does not exist, why then are there so many varieties of the same species? Why not make it simple with just one, you could say, category for each species?
Is that question for me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think God likes variety. I like variety too. I mean, he can do what he wants. But again, I'm not asking for that to be taught at taxpayer expense. So ask the Lord someday when you get to see him. Well, we'll get to see him one day.
Thanks.
I'll ask him here if he shows up.
I have Thoth, appreciate your question, says, if a species experiences 12,000 types of microevolution, are they the same species? I am not exactly sure who that's for. I think maybe for Donald.
It depends. If they're still genetically compatible with their relatives of that species, then yeah. If they're not, then no. Generally, they would consider that a speciation divergence. But they would still be a member of the clade that they shared in common with their ancestors.
Gotcha. Joshua,
they never grew out of being their clade, as Kent seems to keep insisting that that some imaginary version of evolution he keeps pushing on people says such things, which it doesn't. Evolution doesn't say anything. It does stuff. It's a process.
Gotcha. This question coming in from Joshua Ellick, appreciate it, said, if the Earth is only 6,000 years old, how is Göbekli Tepe more than 12,000 years old?
Well, who dated this thing that they're talking about? How do you know it's 12,000 years old? The Bible dates clearly add up to 6,000. I think there's overwhelming evidence from all different branches of science that the Earth cannot possibly be billions of years old. It is spinning. I think we'd agree it is rotating once a day. And I think most scientists would agree the Earth is slowing down. about 1,000th of a second every day. It has to be slowing down from tidal friction, internal friction, Coriolis effect from the winds, etc.
No.
Well, if the Earth is slowing down, that means it used to be going faster. So you do your imagination on that. You can't go back billions of years before you got a real problem with the Earth becoming an oblate spheroid, becoming a frisbee from spinning so fast, and the ocean currents and wind currents being horrendous and everything flying off. So I cover on my video number 1 of my series how scientific ways to prove the Earth cannot possibly be billions of years old. But that doesn't prove it is 6,000. Historical evidence only goes back a few thousand years, real honest historical evidence. If somebody claims something is 12,000 years old, I could claim the zinc pen is 50,000 years old. Prove I'm wrong.
Next up.
So they're claiming that they have something that's 12,000 years old. Who made that number up, and how did they find that? I'd like to see the scientific evidence for that.
Next up, Jay Mixon, thanks for your question, said, Kent, how would you account for similarities between molecules that reflect shared evolutionary ancestry, genetic material, genetic code, process of gene expression, such as transcription and translation, and same build in amino acids?
Wow, long, complicated question. I think it boils down to, how would I explain why elephants are orange? They're not orange. There's no evolutionary relationship between anything.
Are you going to answer any questions?
I've answered every one of them. If
you haven't answered any. You preach every time. You haven't answered a single question. Answer that one if you can. I just did. In one word. I answered it in one word. Evolution.
James?
That's the answer. Go ahead. Answer.
That answers all of it. I know.
Next up,
Isaiah. Everything is evolution. I know.
Isaiah
Go ahead, James.
40. I have to. This one I'll keep the promise, even though it's not related. Isaiah 40:22 says the round Earth and space itself is scientifically impossible. FlatEarth101.com. So, this one guy, thanks for your super chat, said God coded us to talk for him like you created your program to program programs.
What was that?
I think it's for you, Donald. They said God coded
that's for Donald,
us to talk for him like you created your program to program programs.
Possibly, but I don't see the evidence for it.
Gotcha. And Jesse Shodel, thanks for your question, said, Kent, can you demonstrate that anyone has ever observed the God described in the Bible?
It is my religious belief. I don't have to demonstrate that. Again, I'm not asking for it to be paid by taxpayers, so I can believe whatever I choose. I think there's evidence that somebody had to create this. There's probably evidence that somebody had to make this ink pen. I don't know who, I don't know where, I don't know when, and actually I don't care. But I think it's obvious to a 2-year-old somebody made it. I think when you see something way more complex than an ink pen, like a genetic code, you'd have to say, wow, who wrote this code? The question before was to Don, did you program the code to make the program that makes the programs? The answer is obviously yes. It didn't happen by itself, I don't think. Did the keys press themselves on your computer? So I think that I cannot prove the existence of God yet. I will one day when we all get to see him. But for now, I have to choose that. I take it by faith. I admit mine is a faith. They will not admit that evolution is a religion. Will you, Don?
It's not.
Next
you still haven't paid attention to what it is. Evolution is the process of change adding up. That's not a religion. There are no beliefs in it.
It'll add up. Yep.
We will go.
There are no beliefs involved. It is a process.
The closing statements. So what I'll do is give you guys 5 minutes each, and we'll start with Kent, given that Kent started in the first place. So,
that
Kent,
works.
The floor is all yours.
All right. You're going to shut off his mic during this time?
I'll be quiet.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. I believe the evidence is overwhelming that blueberries produce blueberries. There are 4 different types of blueberries now that man has cultivated and developed, and they probably had a common ancestor called a blueberry. God's word says 20 times in the first 7 chapters that the plants and animals will always bring forth after their kind. That is, the evidence for that is everywhere. There is evidence that people will die one day. That is found everywhere. The evidence for death is ubiquitous, okay? Everybody's going to die. I think you can go to any cemetery and say, wow, what happened to our video here? There we go. They're going to die. I think there's evidence that Don will die one day. The evidence is ubiquitous. You will find your name on it. We will find your name on a tombstone someday. And I think it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. I think you should get prepared for that day. See, Don, this is Pascal's wager. If you are right, I haven't lost anything. There's no God to answer to, and I've lived a wonderful life. have a wonderful time. I enjoy life. But if I'm right and you're wrong, you're in real serious trouble one day. So I hate to see that happen, but it's up to you. Go ahead.
Next up, we'll switch it over to Donald for his closing. We do have 1 sec. I want to keep a promise to Samuel Lilleholm, who asked a question early, and I did promise I'd get this in, said, what would you consider, for Don, what would you consider the clearest example of a parts with purpose system coming from a purely natural origin, directly observed, or clearest, quote-unquote, proof of concept?
A water molecule forming. We give it a purpose. We drink water. We do lots of stuff with water. Yeah, hydrogen and oxygen. Just light the hydrogen on fire. It burns with the oxygen. You get water. Simple.
Thank you very much. We'll kick it over to Donald for his 5-minute closing, and the floor is all yours, Donald.
All right. Yeah, by the way, Kent, about that idea of either there's this or that, that's another false dichotomy. There are thousands of different gods people still believe in. You could be wrong about all of them. Okay, I know Kent likes to show pieces of his debates to his followers and give them links. So not give them links to the original. So I'd appreciate it if any of Kent's followers would share with each other the direct link to the full unedited debate on this channel, so that people can make their own informed decisions about whether or not any version of it he might present to them properly represents the actual debate. Even though each of us have planned some part of this debate before the debate started, the debate as it actually happened was not designed or planned out in full. Kind of like that, when I write a program that writes programs, I didn't plan what program it's going to write. It's on its own there. The conversation could change direction at any time in ways that nobody involved could entirely anticipate. And some such changes were bound to add up. In other words, evolution was bound to happen. Also, the content of the debate changed every time anything was added to it. And of course, that change is also cumulative. So the debate, regardless of the path it took, has demonstrated evolution in action. The debate itself evolved. The number of likes clicked has evolved and continues to evolve. The number of subscriptions to this channel also continues to evolve. Evolution has been all around us the entire time. Kent himself admitted that microevolution is ubiquitous and it's all around us. What do you get when you have more microevolution? You have macroevolution. And he said that there's a limit to that, but he has not demonstrated where such a limit is. He can't even say where such a limit is. All he says is something doesn't evolve out of being what it is, and that's exactly what the modern synthesis theory of evolution says. If you want to get something other than what you've got to mate it with something else. It's called cladogenesis. You come up with a new clade, its parent clade is still one of its clades. So evolution has been around us the entire time, regardless of how many people recognize it and how many do not. Evolution is ubiquitous. I've made my point. The evidence has shown itself. I've pointed out enough of the evidence to make it clear to anyone who has been paying attention. I rest my case.
Gotcha. With that, want to say thanks everybody for tuning in. Both of our guests are linked in the description, and we are excited for the future, folks, as we have many more debates coming up. And so don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and that little notification bell so it's ringing so you get those notifications for when we're live, as we have a lot of epic shows coming up. So with that, I want to say thanks.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Kent.
Absolutely. Thanks so much
and
to our
guests. Thanks everybody who's watching. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for coming to hang out with us today. I will be back with a post-credit scene about upcoming debates, which is going to be fun, folks. And so I've got a big one to tell you about this Saturday that's in the works. So stay tuned for that. And with that, thanks one more time. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. And thanks to our guests.
Or are we going to have a follow-up?
Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled. Thanks so much for tuning in. I want to say a huge thank you to our guests. I'm just back for a quick post-credit scene to let you know about upcoming debates that we have. And so, very excited for those. But do want to say thanks everybody for hanging out with us. One thing that we are trying to change at the channel is we want to, as best as we can, though we appreciate silly super chats and we'll even read some of your kind ones. We're not going to read insults to guests because we appreciate our guests coming on. And if we insult our guests, like what way, how is that thanking them for coming on? Want to let you know, for example, our guests who were on tonight didn't ask for anything. They just came on because they love to debate. So I will read silly, playful, positive super chats in this post-credit scene that I had not read already, but do want to let you know we're not going to read insults. And during the debate, we're working on basically getting more serious questions in the debate, because I think that boosts the quality of the show when we only, during the debate Q&A, only read serious questions. So do want to say thank you guys for those serious questions. They were great, really enjoyable. And let's see, thanks Area 85 Restorations as well for being so patient that we didn't get to read your question. Thanks for your super chat support for the channel. Seriously, that really does mean a lot. And so I appreciate you understanding that we have limited time with the guests. And so really do. Thanks for your flexibility, guys. And so there were a lot of other questions we didn't get to, and sorry about that, folks. But want to let you know, we have a couple of things. One is we're so thrilled. This Saturday, you guys, it's going to be great. We are setting up a debate between the Alex Stein and Fight the Flat Earth one didn't quite work out, but we're setting up a new one with Fight the Flat Earth and with Iger Television. However, if any of you know Iger Television, if you can tell him to check his email, I'm trying to get a hold of him. So that's pretty important. And so thanks, Jay Mixon, for your super chat support. Said, great debate, James. Appreciate that. That seriously means a lot. Thanks so much. We're excited about the channel, you guys, because you guys make it great, and we've got a vision for the future, you guys. We are determined. We want to host fair debates on a level playing field on this platform. That's our goal, and that's what we're going to do. Believe me, when all the smoke and dust has cleared, that's what we're going to be doing, and it's going to change YouTube for the good. And so we do appreciate you guys no matter what walk of life you're from. And also, just thanks for saying hi. I appreciate getting to hang out with you guys. And so, for example, Tigera Hitman, thanks for being here. John Dotek, see? Thanks for your, recommendations. Said you should archive all your videos in case YouTube deletes the channel. That would stink if they deleted it. I agree. I think we're okay. So far, we haven't even gotten our first strike, which is surprising, to be honest. But I appreciate you caring, buddy. Xavier Mireles, hopefully I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm not, friend, let me know. But we're glad you're here, Xavier. And Freddie, thanks for hanging out with us. Seminole Fan 291, glad you're here, friend. HQN says, I like this show. It is fun. Thanks, HQN. Seriously, that means a lot. We really appreciate you. Robert Caslow, good to see you again. Mark Reed, as always, good to see you. Flat Sky, thanks for hanging out with us. Rufus St. Hubbins, glad you're here, buddy. Yuzi Alku, thanks for being with us, friend. I see you there. WL357, thanks for hanging out with us, buddy. Glad you're here. Communist Propagandist is here. Good to see you again, friend. And BK Standard 88, thanks for hanging out with us. And Spicy Roads, good to see you. This one guy says, I will tell him. Thank you, this one guy, for being here. And YouTube Surgeon General, as always, glad you made it. Oh, popping over into the Twitch chat. Sorry, folks. I'm so behind. I'm getting used to checking two chats. I'm admittedly have room to improve. I'm a work in progress, but thanks Low2Eng and Brooke Sparrow for hanging out with us in Twitch, as well as Stripper Looker and also Solar Groovin International. Groovint, thanks for hanging out with us. Poor Lucy, good to see you again. Really do appreciate you. And yes, we are pumped, you guys, for the future. As you see at the bottom right of your screen, you guys, you don't want to miss this. Look at this. This debate right here that I'm pointing at, it's going to be epic. That's going to be, so if you guys have not seen it, The epic documentary Collision came out about 10 years ago. Oh, was it already 10 years ago? Christopher Hitchens and Pastor Doug Wilson, who is right here with that epic beard, they went on tour. And so we really do appreciate those guys. And so want to let you know, well, Christopher Hitchens is passed, so I mean, posthumously we appreciate, but want to let you know, Pastor Doug Wilson will be here, and he will be debating Ben Burgess, Dr. Ben Burgess, on whether or not atheism is immoral. So again, yeah, hey, don't miss that one live, guys. It's going to be a party. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we really hope that you're here for it. Oh, man, you know what I missed out on during the debate? I was like so another one, bottom right of your screen right now, atheist versus Christian on whether or not the problem of evil disproves God. An in-person debate this Friday, you guys. Amazing. So that's going to be epic. Want to let you know about that. Seriously, don't miss it. That's going to be a party. So again, hey, you know, these live events are fun, and so that's a great reason to hit that subscribe button. Not only so you see the video, but so you actually see it live, as that's going to be fun. That's down in Georgia. They're going to do that in person, and so we're excited about that. Zald Rizzo, thanks for hanging out with us. Glad you're here, friend. Metal Jacket, good to see you again. Michael Lyon, thanks for being here. Says, the chat is super fun. I'm so glad to hear that, buddy. Odd Jam says, after show somewhere. That's right. Want to let you guys know that both Amy and Standing for Truth are doing after shows. We'll link an after show. They didn't get me the link before the debate, which I usually ask for in order to put it in the description, but you can find their channels by typing them into the space bar above. And yes, they're both having, well, kind of after shows. Standing for Truth, he's hosting a debate with Matt Slick. Who else was it? And Snake was right. So that's supposed to start. I think it's pretty soon. Cider Import says, hey, hope the image I sent will work for the thumbnail for our team debate. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. It's going to be amazing. We haven't had a tag team debate in a while, so that'd be cool. But yes. Colin Lorenz, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for hanging out with us. Rufus St. Hubbins, I think I said hello already. Good day to you, sir. Glad you were here, buddy. James W. says the devil went down to Georgia. Basically. But yes, Tom's chair has gone down to Georgia. You guys, it's going to be pretty cool. It takes so much work to get, you know, whenever Tom does an in-person debate, a lot of work to get his sofa, his lazy boy recliner chair down there, but hey, he's determined, and so, you know, they fly it in, you know. But Seminole fan, thanks for hanging out with us, says can't wait for the next Evolution debate. Thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate that. Your positivity means a lot. Joey E, glad to see you here. Let's see. The synagogue. Thank you for hanging out with us. Good old CJ Cox. And yes, we have Samuel Lillehome, good to see you. And, oh, you guys, Ninja Turtle, good to see you, by the way. This, on the bottom right of your screen right now, is going to be epic. As David Fitzgerald, famous mythicist, will be here tomorrow, so don't miss out on that. That's going to be really fun, you guys. And maybe you guys like podcasts. Maybe you're like me, because I love podcasts. And I want to let you know, we are on virtually every podcast, folks. Let me show you this right here. Sidebar on your screen. To the far right, oh yeah, by the way, we are on Twitch, you guys, and we are excited about that. If you happen to be subscribed to us using your Amazon Prime subscription, I want to give you a friendly reminder to renew your subscription in case it's expired. And also, I'm putting the link for our Twitch in the description, which is live right now, in case you like Twitch. As I was saying, we are on virtually every podcast app. So the major ones such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, Pandora, iTunes, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, Stitcher. Frankly, you name it, guys, we're on there. I mean, we're just working really hard so that we are as convenient as possible for you to get to listen to Modern Day Debate. We hope that's a value to you, as it's always a fun one. It's always it's a wild one, and so we do appreciate you guys. And so hopefully that's something that's useful to you if you like podcasts. Pull out your phone right now. If you have a podcast app and you can't find us on there, which would be rare, and you let me know, I will work hard to immediately get on there so that you can listen to Modern Day Debate on your favorite podcast app. So we appreciate that. Joe's Broder says, I'm a big fan. This is my first time tuning in live. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much, Jaws Broder. Jaws Broder. Let me know if I mispronounced it, but we do appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for your positivity. And let's see who else we have here. We've got Jesse Shodel. Good to see you, buddy. Appreciated your question during the debate. I'm going to read through the nice super chats. So, like I said, I'm not going to read through anything that's insulting. We appreciate the guests, and if we're going to be a neutral channel, I can't read insulting super chats after they leave. So, what I do want to do instead is right now I want to read through the pleasant super chats that people sent in and that I saved for right now because we just want to make sure the show itself is, you could say, more oriented toward kind of that high value, like real questions and stuff like that. And so I will get started with these. Some of these, you guys are characters. Dave Dahlia for Fjorth says, we love James. Thanks so much, Dave. Seriously, appreciate that love. That means a lot. And want to remind you guys, our guests are linked in the description. So the guests, such as Kent and Donald, they make this show possible. I mean, they're the lifeblood of the channel. The debaters are. So we owe everything to them. We appreciate them. They seriously rock. We are just thankful for them. And so, yeah, they are rocking awesome. And let's see, we have, trying to look at, just to be sure I don't read anything insulting. Oh, yeah, we had a nice one actually that I missed. Hockmeister said, welcome back, Dr. Dino. And then let's see, do we have any other nice ones? Let's see, Sphincter of Doom. They kind of, it was like kind of a nice one for Donald. So I don't know. But then we also have most of these we got to, which is good. But thanks, Dave Dahlia for says, James, we're so proud that you're working on your PhD. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. It's exhausting, to be honest. Sometimes I'm pretty tired. You can see me like sink into my seat as the debate goes. You can notice, like, if you scroll to the beginning of the debate, I'm all like this. But then by the end of the debate, I'm just like, oh, hey guys, hey up there. That's because I'm freaking tired, but I am excited. And so, hang in there, folks. I'm determined. I'm seriously determined, you guys, to make this channel epic. We're really thankful for Johannes. Hopefully you don't mind, friend, that I mention your name on air, but Johannes has agreed to kind of help us out with our branding. I'm new to branding. I don't know what it means. So he's teaching me, though. So I've got some things to read about in order basically to help us grow and have more of an impact on YouTube, which Frank, we're not ashamed. I mean, like, we're not ashamed to say, like, hey, hit that subscribe button. We hope that this channel is useful to you. And we're not, ashamed to want to grow because we think that we are having a positive impact on YouTube. I do really want to host fair debates on a neutral platform. That's the vision, and that's what we're going to do. Believe me, folks. And Jay Mixon and Jeremy Lee Inman, thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate that. Braden Fears, glad you made it. Better late than never, buddy. But yes, you're very, very late. Angel A, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Says, are you like, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or if you're being serious, but in all caps, Angel A says, oh, you're so neutral, buddy. I think they're joking, but Jacob Bricky Improvement, thanks for hanging out with us. Glad you're here, buddy. Platinum, thanks, says, glad you're upping the quality. Hope you got my email. Thanks, buddy. I'm so sorry I'm behind on emails. I remember opening your email, and honestly, it was just that it's like, I've honestly, it was nothing about you, friend. Oh, Discord. You asked, why am I not on the Discord? I've never answered you. I honestly don't know how to use Discord. I barely know how to use Twitch, you guys. It's embarrassing. So seriously, our peeps on Twitch can tell you like, yep, James doesn't know what's going on. So I'm sorry if I haven't gotten back to you on Discord. I try to funnel all messages to my modern day debate at gmail.com email address. Even Twitter, I try to tell people, can you just send me a message on email, because it's easier for me for record keeping. But nonetheless, yeah, I don't respond to Discord, and I'm so sorry that that's the case. It's just so hard for me to learn. I'm a boomer, guys. I mean, take it easy on me. But yes, Platinum, I do appreciate your feedback, and let me know what else it was. You can even let me know right now in the chat. I'll interact with you live. And Rich and Hyde, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being with us. It says, have fun, everyone, and need to sleep. Where'd you go? Hold on. Need to sleep. Oh, I lost it. But Amy Newman says, epic, amazing. Samuel Lilholm says, thanks for getting mine. I hope to possibly do that as a super chat format in the future if possible. I feel like you misunderstood the question, but I do appreciate the asking. I guess if you really want to use PayPal to send a super chat, it's easier if it's before the debate, but I'll take it either way. Thank you. I appreciate your support. It's just the only reason I'm like reluctant, because I agree. I get it. You don't want YouTube having 30%. A lot of people don't know YouTube takes 30% of super chats. Yeah. And so if you send, let's say, a $10 super chat, we're still thankful because that's $7. But $3 goes to YouTube. Like filthy rich YouTube, nasty guys. I mean, what's the name of the person? I can't remember Susan. The CEO of YouTube. I mean, the rumor is she wipes her butt with $20 bills. I don't know, maybe. But the point is, YouTube, like, they're doing pretty well. So I'm not trying to be mean, but so I appreciate your inventive way of submitting a question. And I have nothing against YouTube, to be fair. Like, I seriously, I do appreciate that we've grown because of YouTube. I mean, that's where I would recommend anybody start. And so Jeremy Lee Inman, good to see you. And OCD Tracy, glad you're back, friend. Hope you're doing well. And let's see. Angel A, are you saying naughty stuff? You're just saying booyah. Why are they getting deleted? I didn't see. Did they say something bad? I must have missed it. But remember, moderators, we do want you to only delete hate speech. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. So you guys, we don't want any sort of like demographic slurs, like we don't want you to call people like, "Oh, you're GAY." Like, we don't want any of that. So you will get deleted if you do that. So you guys, seriously, hold some standard of civility, and we just don't want people being picked on for these reasons. You could say any protected class. And frankly, even non-protected, if you're like making fun of somebody because they're fat, it's like, come on, really? Like, is this you're gonna sink to that? So we do want to ask you to keep it civil in the chat, attacking arguments, not people. And let's see. Oh, thanks. This one guy, thanks for your super chat, says for the 30%. Appreciate that, buddy. Your support means a lot. And let's see here. Stripper Liquor says the Illuminati with Burke is what we need. Well, we might have that. That could work. We haven't had one for like a year probably. James W says, I don't get Discord either, LOL. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's like Twitter was hard enough for me to learn, seriously. I used to like tweet to myself, and it was very embarrassing. Shannon Q would make fun of me. Platium says, well, it's more about the management of the Discord server itself. Oh, that's right. I do remember that. I mean, you can share more. I'm here for a few more minutes, so let me know if there's something in particular about it. I remember you were unhappy with how it was being done, and I can understand if there's any sort of bias. We don't want that. I agree. Cider and Port says, is there anything I can do to help promote our team debate? Well, friend, I will try to come up with the thumbnail ASAP, and then if you want to share it with friends, and I'll send it to all 4 of you guys if you guys want to share it. Absolutely, that helps. And then Jay Mixon says, I think most of the super chats are lighthearted and made in jest. I agree about not reading them, but I do think it's a fun component of the platform. Yeah, I mean, as long as they're not, we don't want them to be brutal. That's the thing. You know, we don't want it when people are like hard on each other. I agree. Like teasing, like light teasing is, I think we gotta like we should be cool with that. That's kind of like, yeah, like what's the big deal? And I try to have thick skin. If you ever go to our debate with Nathan Thompson and Aaron Raw, you can see all the comments that rip into me, and I've left every one of them there forever. Yeah, they're going to be there for good. And it's like my way, I'm thinking, you know what? It's good for me to have thick skin. Some of those messages are mean, but my philosophy is I want to be kind to everybody, but I want to have the thick skin that says, oh, you're going to insult me? Like, I don't care. Samuel Lilholm says, haha, I just don't have a credit card right now. Otherwise, I probably would have went with supers. Well, actually, I'll give you credit, Samuel. I kind of like the idea of PayPal. Like, seriously, appreciate it. Thanks for your support, buddy. And yeah, Angel A, like, no hate speech. Seriously, like, please. I think they gave you like a warning. They didn't ban you yet. So, you know, like, please work with us. Platium says, well, currently there are only me and another moderator active. We often get overwhelmed by trolls, and it's not always clear when we can intervene. Oh, sorry to hear about that, buddy. I did not know that. So, Joey E still harassing me in the chat. Nah, I'm kidding. He's just being playful. It's okay. But it's just, James, why not keep score on my debate numbers? 2-0. Flat sky fell tonight. Have we ever hosted you? I don't think we did. But Cider Import says, already mentioned it, everyone I work with, so minimum 80 people watching that one. Cool, bro. Well, thanks for doing that, buddy. I appreciate you spreading the word about Modern Day Debate. We're excited to grow. And so we are excited about the future. Believe me, guys, we have a lot of epic debates coming up. And you guys, don't miss this. This one's coming up tomorrow. It snuck up on me. So seriously, yeah, Wednesday, tomorrow. See that debate at the bottom right of your screen? It's going to be a triple threat matchup. Namely, Jesus mythicist David Fitzgerald is an atheist. He says that Jesus didn't exist. He will be debating the Buddhist Brenton, who you see there on the right side of your screen, and who some of us call Big Brain Brenton. And they'll be going against CJ Cox, who's a Christian. So it'll be a pretty fun one. It's titled, Who Is or Was Jesus? So that, or I guess you could say David Fitzgerald's response would say, or did he even exist? So that should be a juicy one, folks. We hope you tune in for that one tomorrow. Mario Craig, thanks for being around, hanging out with us. Says, I really about people unlike you, buddy. I don't know what you're saying, but thanks, buddy. And Platinum says, other than that, a lot more can be done in terms of advertisement and Discord features to announce streams. That's a good point. I used to do that. I used to actually announce it in Discord, and I stopped. I'm sorry about that. It just fell out of the habit. I forgot. Said, in addition, it can host a lot more smaller debates that can't be ... But yeah, seriously, appreciate all of you guys. Platinum, I'm sorry. I just... like working on the PhD is exhausting. Like the attrition rates of people who I've read that the attrition rates for like PhD is like 50%, like 50% dropout. It's freaking hard. It's like, honestly, it's an insane amount of work. And this channel, I do it because I enjoy it and it gives me a break and it gives me something fun to do. But if it's extra time, I just can't give it. I'm sorry. If you want to change things in Discord, I'm open to it. Totally cool. If you want to arrange debates in the Discord, totally cool. I'm sorry. It's just that right now it's like, bruh. It's like I give you so many hours of my week. Like, please. Samuel Lilholm, thanks for hanging out. And let's see. Platinum said, done on the channel. Furthermore, to go back on the previous topic, for the past year, it's been mostly just me while I was graduating and also had quite some big personal issues. I'm really sorry, Platinum, that it's been hard in your personal life. Like, I seriously am. So I am sorry to hear that, friend. I appreciate you sharing it and trusting me and like letting me know, and that you feel comfortable saying it in chat. We hope that if you would feel better taking time off from the Discord, no one blames you. You don't worry. I'm not entitled to any of your help. So I want you to know that, like, we just appreciate you helping at all. Thank you for having done that. We hope you feel supported here in the chat. Just as a community, we do appreciate you, and we hope you feel welcome. And so, seriously, appreciate you, buddy. And I'm sorry that it has been hard the last year. And Organic Jerk, thanks for hanging out with us, said, did I hear that Amy Newman was hosting an after show? Yes. I think it might be starting. It's probably starting any minute, so I should probably go. Because one thing, these post credits are fun, but I think they accidentally sometimes they overlap with after shows. Jay Mixon says, what do you need help with? I'm sure there are many skilled patrons in the group and people who can contribute to the cause. Oh, I appreciate it. It's more that Platinum... Platinum says, a lot more can be done with delegating the workload. There's a lot of people volunteering to do it to help you out without asking anything back. But you do got to... Human Girl, thanks for stopping by. Platinum, I don't know exactly what you're saying, but I'm not sure what you want from me. I'm like, bro, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm like on the verge of burnout all the time. But so it's like, seriously, if you guys want, I trust you guys to do what you want in the Discord. Just keep it fair. And so Cider Import said, would you ever want Steven Crowder on the channel? If so, I'll debate him. Yeah, we'd like him on the channel, but I mean, realistically, it's going to cost $10,000. It's probably going to cost more than that, but I would guess a minimum of $10,000, which I can't afford. OCD Tracy says, hey, I'm actually an artist and a voice actress. I'm going to email you to see what I can do to help you out. Thanks so much, OCD Tracy. Seriously, that means a lot. I appreciate that support. And Amy Newman says, woohoo. After show starting soon. I'm going to pin that to the top of the chat. Thanks for sharing the link, Amy. And James W. says, and don't forget there will be that after show. But yeah, thanks, guys. Let's see. Other super chats I might have missed. So many burps. Thank you. Let's see. Jay Mixon says, Duck Dodgers of the 21st and a half century. Duck Dodgers. Well, at least we don't know who they were referring to. But thank you so much for... I'm trying to look for any that were directed at me. Got some about Darwin. Let's see. We've got some about people who like flat Earth. I think that was all for the super chats directed toward me. So thank you guys so much for your support, and thanks for your patience as, like I said, we're doing this new format where we take only serious questions during the debate, and so we save the silly super chats for afterwards. So appreciate all your support, guys, seriously. Oh, James W. will be in on the after show at Amy Newman's channel, so check that out as well. James W. is just on debating on, what was it? Let's see. I can't even remember. Oh, Missing 411. Missing 401. Sorry. I'm so sorry, bro. I'm just that tired. M.I.K. says, hi. Thanks for saying hi. We appreciate you, M.I.K. Glad you are with us. And Platinum says, but you do got to utilize it. I get that you're busy, but a solution could be to point someone to communicate with you. Oh, my gosh. Okay, Platinum, you're appointed to communicate with me. I've already told you all the ideas that you want to do in Discord. Feel free to do them. But seriously, when you keep asking me for, like, I'm just like, bro, I don't know what you want. Like, giving you permission. Like, I'm like, it's like you go appoint someone. Like, I'm just like, gosh, sometimes I'm amazed. It's like I put like 20 hours a week, and it's true. I enjoy the channel, but it's like I'm doing my best. So, it's like maybe it's just that you might want to, when you get your PhD, Platinum, maybe you'll understand how freaking busy it is. Seminole Fan 291 said, bring back Raging Atheist. He's funny to watch rage. We might. We hope he's doing well, and we do appreciate him. And so it's been a while already. But want to say thanks, everybody. We will hopefully see you here tomorrow for that epic debate. And so thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Seriously, let me know if there's something I can do to make your day better. I do appreciate you guys. We appreciate you hanging out with us. You guys seriously mean a lot. Seriously, you brighten my day. You make it fun. And so you can email me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com. And I am here for you, friends. I'm dead serious about that. Like, we do want to support you. And so we hope it feels like a community here. We appreciate you. Thanks for all your support. You guys, seriously, you make this awesome. And so, yes, very excited. And with that, keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. And see you tomorrow night for that debate that you see on the bottom right of your screen, or on who is or was or is or did exist Jesus tomorrow. That is going to be an epic discussion, a triple threat, which we haven't had for a long time, so that'll be fun. Seminole Fan 291 says, Modern Day Debate, this is my first time watching live. I'll be sure to be back for more live action. Thanks so much, friend. I'm glad that you were. I hope you enjoyed it, friend. And that's right. James W. said, see you tomorrow, James, and Thursday for Patreon. That's right. Patreon meeting this Thursday if you're in the top 2 tiers. I forgot the names of them. Front row seating and general admission. So if you're in those tiers on Patreon, hang out with us this Thursday. Kind of gives us direction on the channel. We kind of talk about like what we want to do, how we want to improve it, as well as just catching up, hanging out. You know, it's kind of like have a brewski and hang. So Tigera Hitman says, good night, James. See ya. Thanks for hanging out with us. Goodbye, Human Girl. Goodbye, Colin Lorenz. We appreciate you. Robert Page says, thanks for all you do. Modern Day Debate. Thanks so much. I appreciate that, friend. And thanks, Rich and High. Says, sleep well, James. And Amy Newman, as I mentioned, is linked in the top of the chat. And so, yes, see you tomorrow for that debate, folks. It'll be fun. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Take care.